everybody. Woo! Yes, we can look at my jiggly arm. But also I want to show you how crazy my arm still looks after my ridiculous torture chamber allergy test. I was really hoping that my arm would not look crazy, but I still look like Killmonger. But whatever. It is what it is. So also, I'm seriously getting like 10 to 11,000 steps or something in 4-hour stints a day. So I swear to goodness, if these arms don't be looking skinny, and if my stomach doesn't go away after all this retail running around, I'm gonna be so pissed, and I will never work out again because I literally like killing like 12,000 steps in 4 hours. Whew, child, like I'm exhausted. I just finished my shit before this. So yeah, a little precursor to tonight's discussion. I'm so happy to have one of my besties joining me tonight, the aspiring mermaid that she is, Tia Savannah. You probably have seen her in millions of my pictures. She's part of our trio group. And we've just had recent conversations, you know, especially with me having the job lost and the job change and then the career change, you know, just on like what that looks like living in America and just trying to survive if you're not, you know, a billionaire, basically. So we had a conversation like ourselves and we're like, this is a good topic to talk about. So let's bring it on to the live. So I'm super excited to have her on here. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her on. Hey, TT.
Hey, girl.
Hey. How are you?
I like your headband. Is that the one you got last year?
The overpriced $30 one that I bought. Yes, it is. And clearly,
it looks way more fancier.
yes.
Like
well, you know, since I've been watching, anytime I watch, you know, something royal, whether it's The Crown or Bridgerton or anything related, then I start getting into my princess headband. So I'm like, oh, I'm a princess. I could be Daphne and married to Regé Jean because he's so hot.
You sure can, baby. You could do whatever.
Thank you. I could do whatever I want. Thank you, girl. Thank you. Okay. So basically, introduce yourself to my audience. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do, education. Just give us a little rundown, a little spiel.
Yeah. So I'm Tia. I met Shalonda through a mutual friend, 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah.
So our friendship is fairly new, but we talk like every day because she's a talker. I've lived in Houston for 9 years now. I'm originally from the Chicagoland area. That Chicago and Houston are the only 2 places I've ever lived. I do have a job that I've had now for 5 years that does not stimulate me emotionally, mentally, or financially. So I kind of like get goosebumps or like the hair on my arms raised when people ask me what I do. Especially like in a romantic dating situation when a guy asks me that, because I feel like, what's the point of this question? Do you just want to know that I have a steady income and I'm not about to ask to come live with you? Because if that's the case, then we good. Like, I have my own place, I have an income, whatever. I think my issue with identifying to it is just because of what I said. Like, I don't feel like I resonate with this job on so many levels, and I hate associating it with me. Like, I don't want to say, hi, I'm Tia, I work at X. Hi, I'm Tia, I do B, because I don't feel like they fit who I am. But I do work. My educational background, I know, right? I guess. I have a bachelor's of arts in English and a master's in education. I received my master's in 2011, so I haven't been in school for quite some time. I never want to go back, ever in life. Let's see, what else you asked me?
Just like, you know, so what do you like living in Houston? You said you really lived in Houston and Chicago. So comparing the two, do you like living here or did you like Chicago more?
I had very different experiences. To be fair, you know, I grew up in Chicago. I don't really feel like, also, to be fair, I lived in the suburbs. So I don't really feel like I had an adulthood in Chicago. I was there, you know, I went away to school. So from 18 to 21, I lived in central Illinois, of course, back and forth. And then I moved to Houston, and I don't know how old I was, like 25. So I guess I just don't really feel like I got my feet wet enough there to really compare my adult lives. But I like Houston a lot. The things that I don't like about Houston, I feel like I wouldn't like anywhere. So I'm definitely not considering a relocation ever again in life because that's a lot.
It is.
Um, I would say the most disappointing thing for me with Houston is just the downtown area. Me and you have had this conversation before. Definitely not something I was used to being from a city with a major downtown area, and just visiting other cities like LA, San Francisco, New York. Downtown Houston is extremely disappointing. I also feel like from like a tourist standpoint, it's really difficult when I have like out of town visitors, especially from Chicago, because they have an expectation of like, take me here, take me there, take me there. And like, I really don't know where to take people that come to Houston. Like, you want to go see the water wall by the Galleria? No, that's lame.
Hey, I
You want to
take
go
people
see the
there.
Space Center? Also kind of lame if you're not into that. Like I don't really feel like Houston has those like jaw-dropping attractions, which also makes it hard when you're trying to find something to do. Like there is stuff to do here, but you have to search for it. It's not like you can like just go downtown and walk into a movie theater. Um, so that's disappointing, but I ain't going nowhere. I'm here forever.
You better not be going anywhere, even though I'm trying to leave.
Right?
Hey, for some reason, your screen's shaking a lot, dude. Is your computer, for some reason, it was shaking a little bit?
Probably because I was moving. I'll stop moving.
Oh. You can keep moving. I didn't know if it was. Well, I mean, your story is very similar to mine. I grew up in Pittsburgh, but people ask me what's there to do in Pittsburgh, and I'm like, I wasn't an adult in Pittsburgh. I don't know what to
Mm-hmm.
tell you to do in Pittsburgh. I left when I was 18, and I pretty much haven't been back since. I lived at Bucknell for 4 years, then I moved to Philly. And I probably know Houston way more than I know Pittsburgh. So when people, I'm like, I ask my friends back home in Pittsburgh what's to do, because I only experienced as a kid when my parents were still driving me around to the mall and that stuff. I never went to bars and things. I mean, a little bit over Christmas break, but that's still not enough to like tell you how to really navigate that city. So yeah, so I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on here is because we were talking about budgets and living in America, and I think we both kind of got a lot really frustrated because I know for my personal story right now, it's frustrating to me. I've been making a lot of money for a while, but I wouldn't say like, okay, I say a lot of money, but I wouldn't say like, I mean, I was living like a millionaire or anything. And I never really felt like I was just on this extraordinary, like rich path. But I would say when I left college, I was starting off around 65K. And my last position, I was around like 120. And I will say that jump in 60K, it may not seem like a lot to a lot of people, really did change my lifestyle as a single person. And I put myself in these more expensive apartments or this car. And then what I found was so frustrating is for everything I ever did, car, credit card, or rent, it always asks your income must be such and such and such amount to do this. Your income must be 3 times the amount to rent here. Your income for this credit card amount must be here. And then so they run this whole gambit on your history, on your finances. And then as soon as you lose it, there's no help at all. They don't do anything to help you. So for like, I mean, I wanted to move out of this apartment because it's too expensive now for my new budget. And there's just like really no options besides paying quadruple the amount to leave, which will just put me in like more of a financial burden to leave to go to a cheaper apartment. But it was like, if I'm telling you I no longer meet the requirements to stay here, there should be a letting out process, like a process of like, I didn't just get lazy and was like, I'm just not going to pay rent anymore. I literally don't meet the requirements that allow me to rent here in the
Right.
first place. So why are you going to now try to evict me, make me pay quadruple rent or whatever, like, and letting out fees? And you already know, I'm telling you, I don't even have that type of money. So that to me is so frustrating. Same with credit cards and everything like that. So I know you can relate to that. I mean, it's just frustrating. Like they rope you in, but they don't do anything to help you when you start to struggle.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been fortunate enough that I've never, since I started working out of college, I've never lost my job. Um,
Yay!
Yeah, so I've never really had that experience of not really being able to make ends meet, not making my rent, things like that. But I definitely, based on, just life circumstances, I've been in situations where my money ran a little bit tighter than other times. Um, and I agree with you. I mean, they have those little banners on the website, like especially now with the pandemic, of like, we're here to help you, let us know, like Toyota has that when I go to pay my car note. Couple credit cards have that, but what does that really mean? A deferment? Because you telling me I just owe it to you later is not helping me. Um, I don't want to owe it at all ever. So, um, I definitely agree with you. Like as situations change, it's like there's no empathy or adjustment to really accommodate like what's going on. And especially now, I mean, again, I've been fortunate enough that the pandemic hasn't affected my income, but it has affected a lot of people. And I just I don't really know what these people think that they're doing, like these big companies and the apartment complexes. Like you still expect rent. So like I don't know. Like you said, I think there should be some type of letting out process, maybe like a 60-day thing or something. But at the end of the day, I think they just want more money. So they would never do that because they want the late fees and they want it to be on your credit and they want to screw you for life. Like
Yeah, and
that's the
it's
goal.
yeah, it is. That's what part that kills me is like you make one financial mistake and you're like ruined for 7 freaking years until it comes off your credit card.
Mhm.
I mean, clearly, you know my history. I have a repeated history of not having a job and always just like running the gambit in between. I mean, and
Mhm.
I've always found ways to make it work. I've always been able to do that, but it's just, I think this, and what's nice now is because of COVID, some companies are a little bit more willing to assist. But before COVID, it was like, oh, screw you. It was like until the world was struggling, there was no help for any individual who was
Mhm.
struggling. And there were tons of people who were losing jobs and stuff before this economy felt bottomed out and like hit the
Yeah.
hit the fan. And there was nothing. It was just like, we're gonna tack on more late fees. Okay, we'll defer, but you're gonna just accrue more interest. It's like I'm literally
Right.
telling you I cannot afford these payments. And you increase, like, not only are you like, I can possibly still understand like the fact that I still have to pay it because I did sign up for it. I get that. But then you're like, oh, we're just gonna keep on tacking on the interest and making it even more and more and more. So you never, ever, 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 ever finish paying it. And I'm just like,
Yep.
that's the type of craziness. I mean, I know companies, but that's my problem with capitalism. Like, I know companies want to make money, but they don't care about people. So, like, the goal is like, I don't understand how apartment complex win that either. If you evict somebody, okay, I'm not talking about people who have like drug violations, or I'm talking about
Mhm.
people who lost their job and can't pay their rent. So, if you evict them, um, but I mean, okay, not so much that they can't pay the rent, but they need like a little bit of a payment plan to still at least get you your money. Maybe they can do 2-week
Yeah.
bi-weekly payments or something like that versus not paying at all. But you'd rather evict them and then maybe not backfill that apartment at all for anybody else, and then you're losing money anyway. And it just seems like there's no compassion. Like I just saw my husband number six's brother, Andrew Cuomo, Governor Andrew Cuomo. Chris. Hey, Chris, if
Oh my gosh.
you're watching. He just passed a little thing about like stopping people from being evicted in New York. But I think it's, whether it's a public or private or whatever, there's like probably some exceptions to that. But it's just, and it's like the whole thing about with COVID is like stay indoors, but no, we're going to evict people and throw you out on the street. I'm like, what kind of
Mhm.
sense does that make? It's just, it shouldn't be this hard in America. So I feel like we're a first world country. We're a country where, well, allegedly everybody wants to come here to live the American dream, but you only get respect if you're a billionaire. You don't like if you, and sometimes you only get respect if you go to school. Not everybody is meant to go to school. Not like I think one of my biggest gripes with this country is that the lack of the elitism and the lack of respect for people who are doing the jobs that other people may not want to do. Because
Hmm.
the way capitalism works is it cannot survive if you don't have people who are janitors or bus drivers or doing the mail. Like, look how we depended so much on those people. And those
Hmm.
people are struggling to make ends meet. They're working
Hmm.
like 4 or 5 jobs and risking their life. Why in America?
Hmm.
Girl.
It sucks and it's sad. And sometimes I feel guilty because I'm like bitching. But like you said, there's people that make less than me and frankly do a lot more work than I do. um, so, I feel bad. And, in the area that we live in, there's a lot of homeless people around here. And I struggle with my feelings about homelessness because on one hand, I'm like, can y'all get away from me? Um, but then on the other hand, I'm like a paycheck and like 5 friends away from being homeless. Like if I did not have people in Houston that I knew and loved that I'm pretty sure would not let me live on the street and I lost my job, I would probably be homeless. So, you know, like I said, sometimes I just teeter-totter with feeling guilty or feeling like maybe I shouldn't feel a way about my circumstance because there's people that are literally living on the street, or there's people that drive trucks all day in the snow and still can't pay their bills.
No, I feel you. I feel you on the homeless thing too. I same thing. Like a lot of this, they're like I think this year, like alone showed just how quickly you can go from living life to living on the street, just a couple
Mhm.
paychecks away, or like running out of unemployment until you're out on the street. Even me, like I know I have options if I ever couldn't pay my rent. Even if I don't have options here in Houston, I can always go home to Pittsburgh. I've got
Right.
my family up there. I have family that will take me in, but not everybody has that.
Yep.
And that's sad and that's scary. And you look at these people on the street and you kind of wonder, like, what happened to them? But I heard a story one time about, like, no, I wasn't like this guy was like, I had a great life. I was married with kids. I lost my job, couldn't find another one. I lost the house. My wife divorced me. And then he was on the street and he didn't do drugs. He didn't do, and even if he did do drugs, like everybody makes a mistake. Everybody has things. And that's another thing we really need to stop doing is like kind of judging people who have made past mistakes like of that caliber, because it's like everybody can change and grow, and just because that wasn't your mistake doesn't mean you never made a mistake. But it is true.
Mhm.
It's like living paycheck to paycheck. If you lost that paycheck, you could easily be out on the street. And I'll never forget.
Easily.
It's
Easily.
not even like exaggeration. It literally is like loss of a paycheck and not getting in can put you in on the street, because so many people live paycheck to paycheck. I know people want to believe that here in America, people are living paycheck to paycheck. Yes, we are. Yes, they
Mhm.
are. I bet you almost everybody is. Some people, like I have enough savings to get through because I knew I just had an idea that my boss was going to be and let me go. So I just started doubling down. So I'm okay. But what happens when I run out of my savings if I hadn't picked up another job? And a lot of
Right.
people haven't been able to pick up another job. I never forget when I lived downtown. Remember when I was at 1825, and there's a lot of homeless downtown, and my balcony faced that church, I think St. John's Cathedral.
Mhm.
And I would go and sit on my balcony, and I would see a lady across the street in her blanket near under the trees, sleeping there, like on the street. And I'm sitting in this, more than likely overpriced apartment
Yeah.
on this balcony looking at her, and it made me feel very uncomfortable because I'm like, I'm
Mhm.
overpaying for this rent. I could probably split this rent in half and pay for her apartment to live
Yeah.
somewhere. Um, it's a hard line not to feel guilty about that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard. But what does your life look like daily? Like, well, just kind of like, with the salary you're at, you don't need to tell us unless you want to, but just kind of like, what are things that you would like to be able to do more of that you can't right now? You're an educated female with a great job, but for some reason we're still at this, like, you still can't do some of the things you want to do. So
Mhm.
how does that make you feel? And what does your life kind of look like with that?
Um, I teeter-totter with this as well because on one hand, I'm like, I live a great life. I mean, considering, and when I look at my peers, and when I say peers, I just mean people in my inner circle. I do a lot and have a lot that a lot of people I know don't. So I'm like, I'm good. But then I'm like, but I still don't have this. I can't do this. I got $22 in my checking account. Like, maybe I'm not so good. Overall, I live in a 2-bedroom apartment. There's only one of me. I don't have no kids, no roommate, nothing. But I live in a 2-bedroom apartment. Um, I have, how old is my car? My car is 3 years old now. This is only my second car my entire life. Um, I don't really, I wouldn't say that I have like a lot of material things. I have like what I need, like TVs, couch, whatever. I just bought a laptop for the first time, like Thanksgiving. So I would say that I live comfortable. I think my quality of life is pretty good, but there are things that I find myself feeling like maybe I don't deserve. Simple things like a car wash. Because to get my car cleaned inside and out and tipping them is gonna cost me like $70. And I just have a very hard time sometimes being like, I should spend $70 on a car wash. Getting my hair done, pedicures, things like that. Those things are hard for me because I also feel like it helps my mental health and physical health. I mean, pedicures, like I be needing that, like for real. Um, because I'm very active, like, I run and walk and stuff. I'm always on my feet physically. So I have a hard time being like, no, you don't deserve a $40 pedicure, but it's like your feet hurt. Maybe you do deserve it. But it's difficult for me because like if you really don't have the money, because I do live check to check, then I shouldn't be spending the money. Like I shouldn't be swiping a credit card if I technically don't have this, right? But it's difficult for me because I was raised in a single parent household and my mom definitely lived above her means. I mean, me and my sister were raised on credit cards. So it's kind of like I don't really know a life where you can provide for yourself or provide for the people that you love without credit. Like I've never seen it. Um, and although I don't have 2 kids like she did, I think about all the time if I had a kid tomorrow, like how they supposed to eat? Because like I'm barely eating, like I do think, like I said, I do think that I have a cushiony life, but I do find myself cutting back on things, eating out for sure. I love to travel, so I try to budget my money for that for the most part. But it definitely takes away money from other areas. Like I'll be like, I can't order a pizza because I got to buy this flight tomorrow. And I just wish that I lived a life where I didn't have to say that to myself, where I could go get that $70 car wash and I go get a pedicure and my hair done the same day. But again, the hair raises on my arms if I spend more than like $50 in one day. I'd be like, nope, you're done. You got to stay in the house for 2 weeks now. Like, and I don't like that feeling because like I said, I'm not very materialistic. I don't really feel like I have a lot of stuff. Like I'm cool with shopping out of like Target, JCPenney, and Kohl's. So it's just like if I have one moment where I want something that's kind of sending me over my budget, I just want to be in a situation financially and mentally where that's okay. It's not setting me back because I spent $100 or I decided to take an Uber that was $12 and now I don't know how I'm about to eat dinner because I spent my dinner on Uber money. Like I just don't want to live that life.
No, oh my gosh, no, I feel you on that. And um it's people like to say like if you make a lower amount of money, people who budget really well can live better. But at the end of the day, I think you would always like to make more money, I think, and still budget and then still have some flexibility where you're not constantly worried about paycheck to paycheck, or you have to say like, I can't do this week because I need to put money towards this. And even just trying to have savings, like it's really hard for people to have savings. I think people don't realize like people are always like, you should save a certain amount of your income and to savings, but it's like I actually need every bit of my income to pay for
Mhm.
rent, utilities. Okay, maybe I don't need the $30 Netflix package, which I do not have. I think it's only up to 15. But just an example, like, okay, sure, maybe I don't need the $30 Netflix package. I can get away with the $8 package. But at the same time, it's like internet's kind of very essential nowadays, and you'll be hard pressed to find like kind of cheap, affordable internet. Especially if you have kids that are going to school, they need to be on the internet to be able to live stream with their teachers. And I think the same way, like before, even when and so that was funny is like, so I was making a little bit, but I still didn't feel like I was just, like if I would have had a kid, I probably would have started struggling. I've been single for so long. And so there were times where I was living where I lived a life where I didn't care about gas prices or Ubers or ordering excessively from Uber Eats, like almost every day, a couple times a day. I lived a life where I would buy something. If it didn't work out, I didn't even bother to return it because I didn't care about.
Oh no, I don't live that kind of life.
Now my life is like, oh, can I return this for $1? Okay.
Girl, I take stuff back to Dollar Tree. Okay.
Girl, do what you need to do.
I will take one thing back to Dollar Tree. Like, no.
I feel you on that because now my lifestyle has changed and I really realize, and I talked to another friend. She messaged me. I don't know if you saw my status I had about how I was going from like $60 an hour to under $15 an hour. But I feel happy about it. And then I had another friend message me. I won't say her name on here because she messaged me privately. But she was like, I must be living the wrong career because I've never hit $60 an hour and I probably never will. And I was like, it's not all it's cracked up to be. But at the same time, but it's a thin line between like happiness and money, right? It's like, okay, I was miserable as an engineer, but my personal life was probably pretty great. I really wasn't worried about money. I didn't really have all that much savings because I'm a spender, but whatever. And now I'm focused more on money than my job. Like I'm focused more on like, I want to be happy, but now I really have to buckle down on the money, like what I spend and what I do. I was getting those $5 egg bites almost every day from Starbucks. I'm like, let me budget egg bites once a week or maybe once a month. And I'm not used to living like this, but I don't feel bothered by it. I think another reason for me, which is probably maybe harder for other people, is because I did have that experience at that other end of the spectrum. I think it makes it a little bit easier for me to be like, I did it. Yeah. I was in the high rise. And then for her, she's like, I've never been there. I've always been struggling with the budget. I've always had to think about every dollar I spent. And I never thought about it that way. And I felt it made me reconsider how I was talking about my words. I'm like, oh yes, I'm going to be great at, $15 an hour or whatever. And I realized like, okay, yeah, I may be happier, but I really need to respect the fact that like, that's not a good place for some people. Some people would like to be where I was. And so I want to put some respect on where I was financially, because I guess because I lived it, I'm not gonna miss it because I had it, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think that experience is different for different people because I'm telling you right now, if I made 100 anything, I still would not have lived like you. There's no way. I'm just being real. Like
no.
So there's no way I would treat Uber Eats like it was a student dining hall card, and there's no way I would live in an overpriced. You know how I feel about downtown Houston. I just said it. Mm-hmm. There's no way I would pay to live in downtown Houston because it's a ripoff. So I'm not really sure where that got developed along the way for me because my mom definitely is not like that. But so for me, when I hear you talk about that, I just think about how I would have a savings account if I made that much money. My life would be completely different if I made six figures. I know that because I know that I wouldn't change. Because that $70 car wash is not gonna set me back if I'm making that type of money, And right now, like I actually do have a savings account, but I save for the things that like I want to do or that I want to buy. I don't have like a petty cash emergency fund. So like right now, my savings account is for a Peloton bike because where I live, there is a Peloton bike in the fitness center, but I hate this place and I don't want to stay here. So I know that when I move, that's going to be something that I cannot live without. So I am preparing to be able to pay for that. I don't want to, if you go to their website, it says like $50 a month for 4 years, basically. I'm not doing that with y'all. Like I have enough credit cards. I'm not doing it. So like, I definitely want to get as close as I can to paying cash for this Peloton bike. And then on top of that, I save for my vacations and I save for things that I want, like if I want a new TV or a laptop or whatever. And it's just not enough money to do all of that and to save for like incidentals. And, the way I was raised, like making moments and making experiences is important. So, like holidays, birthdays, like doing things that put a smile on your face is what you should really stretch yourself thin for. So, that's kind of what I've adopted. And
Mhm.
as much as it would be nice to have a savings account if I lose my car tomorrow, I'd rather save for a Peloton bike.
Get it, girl. At least you be like, I may not got a car, but I am fit as hell.
But I do recognize that that's still a privilege. I am able to do it, but it also feels like I said earlier, is very conscious. It's not like I just have this leftover money and I put into a savings account. I'm like, no, like as soon as I get paid, I gotta put $30 into this petty cash. Like it's not just extra. I don't have extra money just laying around. So I think for you, your experience is different because your personality is different. Um, I really think I would live a completely different life if I made the type of money that you made. Like, there's no way. And I'm not a
Well,
shopper, really.
no, and to be honest, I should not have been struggling the way I was struggling, making
Mhm.
close to 120K because I'm a single female
Mhm.
making that much money. I don't have any dependents. I don't have like, I mean,
Mhm.
okay, Coco and Chanel are kind of expensive sometimes, but not enough to take all of that. But
Yeah.
because of financial decisions I made when I was younger, when I first hit that engineering money, and due to my expensive taste and just wanting to like, blah, 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 I really wasn't living the life. Like to me, like I guess I still look like I was living life, but to me, I should have been really like living life. I probably could have been in a house or something by then. I should have had excessive savings. But I was still paying down a lot of debt from things in the past. So a lot of my, I was making like 120, and then I went ahead and got a Lexus with a high car note, and I went to put myself
Mhm.
downtown, and then I was still paying off things. So I was able to do all that. But had I taken that money and put myself in like a cheaper apartment, not an unsafe apartment, which we could talk about next, more like reasonable car, I probably could be living large a little bit longer even now without having to go get a job. But I agree, and it is how you spend your money individually. And I actually do think I have a shopping problem, and it's related to my anxiety. Actually, I've always admitted that I definitely am a shopper, and there are other engineers and other people who make what I make that don't spend the way I spend, and they are already in houses, and well, they're just so much better
Mhm.
at it. I always not really have been great with finances, regardless of what budget it was. As you can see, I've already been
Yeah.
shopping at a container store, knowing that I'm not making what I was making. But yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about the housing thing because that's kind of what pisses me off next. When I was trying to look for a cheaper apartment because I just didn't want to pay close to 1,400 a month anymore at my new budget, I was like, okay, I want to be close to 1,000. I still want to one
And
with
you gonna live with mice and roaches, and
right.
the tires on your car gonna get stolen.
It is. I'm like every place I look. If I want to live in the area where I want to live, which is kind of still this area because I like being close to everything, and I'm looking at apartments in this area that are under 1,000. I'm like reading reviews where it's like somebody was murdered here, and of course, murder happens anywhere, and break-ins happen anywhere. But when you actually physically go to look at these apartments too, I'm like, what the hell? Like,
Mhm.
I literally was toured on an apartment, and a roach was like running around the apartment complex, and I was like. So it's like if you want to, if you okay, so for us, we can stretch it a little bit more to live in a place. There are places that we're in now that are a little bit nicer. I wouldn't say like they're not like overpriced high rises, but I would say we feel a little bit safer where we're not.
Mhm.
She and I live close together, but we're in different complexes, but we're in the same neighborhood. But if you really don't have that budget and you are forced to live in places like Wilcox or something, that that is not fair to me. I feel like you should not be forced to live in an unsafe place with your family because you cannot afford to live in a safer place. And yes, I believe that crime and stuff happens everywhere, but that is just set up for failure. So,
Yeah.
and they don't have a choice. These people don't have a choice.
Mhm.
That's frustrating. I was like, I can't. Like, I'm also somebody who didn't grow up. I didn't grow up rich, so I can. bring myself down to like, I don't mean bring myself down, but like I don't need to be in a high rise is what I'm trying to say. I can live in a less nice apartment complex and be okay. But what I can't do is live somewhere where I feel unsafe.
Yeah. Even like the safety thing is definitely a concern, but I also want to still feel like I'm spending money. You know, like this shit ain't free. I'm sorry, can I swear? This
Yes, you
isn't free.
can swear.
So it's like, okay, I may not be paying 16, 17, I'm paying 11, 12, but let's be real, that's still a lot of money. You know, like it ain't like I'm paying $200 a month. So I just don't really feel like even at the $1,100 range, you should be dealing with roaches and mice or, you know, shitty service, maintenance not coming to fix things. Like it's just not right. It's just like so unfair, really.
And it's not
Um,
right. It isn't. You're like one step above for being homeless. These
right.
apartments
But
really
that's
aren't
a
that
lot of
much
money though.
better. Yeah.
But it's still a lot of money. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like if I'm really about to feel some type of way about my safety and all of that shit, I could be spending $500 a month. You know, like it just sucks. And I don't know. I just be praying that something I'm gonna find a really good deal or like a 6 months no rent thing, like something is just
Prorated
gonna
and
pop
yeah.
out of nowhere, and it's gonna be like, yes, this is for Tia.
This
Thank
is
you.
just for Tia. God sent this place just for me. Bam, right
I mean, because honestly, I have lucked out with apartments before my latest situation. I've just, because those prices fluctuate so much. Um, and I've just kind of lucked out with like really good rates, and like my rent won't increase for like 3 or 4 years. I've been really blessed. So I'm praying that it happens again when I'm ready to not renew this lease
here.
because I'm
I
with
just
you.
yeah.
I don't want to go live in the slums just to not be paying $1,500 a month, but I don't want to pay $1,500 a month.
Right. You really should, and it makes me feel bad for people who really don't have a choice at all. Like there's not a choice for them. Like if you really wanted to, you could potentially stay there. If your lease wouldn't, if
Hmm.
they weren't going to renew it, I mean, if they weren't going to increase it, and because you already know you can stay at this level and be okay. But there are literally people who
Hmm.
can't even get to these complexes
Right.
where we're at now, and that's just sad to me. And I think my issue with capitalism on that is like I don't even know how these apartment complexes are allowed to exist. And the first thing I hear people like, you're paying a mortgage and rent, but like not everybody wants a house. Like people
I
just see.
hate when
I hate
people
that.
say that.
Me
I
too.
hate it. Like,
They
you
don't
can have a house
understand.
for that much. Okay, first of
Get it,
all,
girl. Tell us. Break it down for us.
I am a single effing woman. I am not trying to live in no 5 bedroom, 3 bedroom, whatever house with grass that's about to be growing, the hinges about to be falling off the door. Who about to fix this? My imaginary boyfriend, fiance, husband? No. So at least my $1,500 a month now. I know that if I see a roach, I can call and an exterminator can come, and my rent ain't about to go up because the exterminator came. If I see roaches in my house, I'm gonna have to hire an exterminator. Okay, how much that costs? If the pipes break, whatever, like all of that is included in my rent. We just talked about how I don't have a savings account. So I cannot go get nobody's mortgage and have to deal with these incidentals, not to mention my quality of life, like I said, is important to me. I like amenities. So I like having a pool and a Peloton bike and sidewalks and all of that. Like, I don't want to live in a house where all I am doing is literally living in this house. Like, so that argument, like, again, is based on who you are. And I hate when people say that to me because, like, do you know me at all? Like, can you see me living in a house by myself?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have no dog that need to run around in nobody's lawn. Like, why would I do this to myself? This would probably be like one of the biggest financial mistakes I could ever make.
Yeah, it's basically living house poor. What's the point of being a house poor? Like, just to say you have a house, but you can't do anything
Right.
because you're living in this house. And I do want a house eventually, but mostly because I want more space. And I want to be able to decorate the way I want to decorate without these little restrictions of things I can do. But I agree with you. People only assess mortgage to rent, but a house is not just mortgage. You've got now home insurance, your electricity bill is higher. You've got all these rooms to
Taxes.
take care of, taxes, homeowners association fees, your utility bill. And so people just need to really, like, it's not just a one-to-one. And we kind of do have that all covered in our rent. And like you, I like having a pool. I'll tell you, somebody of my homeowner friends be like, Shalonda, can we come over and go
Yep.
to the pool? I'm like,
Yep.
I bet you like that I'm renting an apartment now.
Right. Right.
But I mean, but I'm not knocking the homeowners. I think being a homeowner is great if that's what you want to do, and if it's not what you want to do, then that's great too.
Right.
But
Exactly.
don't use that argument for a reason why, like, we could, because there's so much more. Like you said, all the maintenance, washers and dryers, HVAC, everything you have to do yourself. So it's not just like this one-to-one savings ratio. It's definitely not. And I think one of the other things we kind of talk about was holidays and like the annoyance of commercialism and capitalism around holidays like Christmas. So for example, I kind of take issue with Toys for Tots. I know I'm probably going to sound like some evil French woman who like doesn't want kids to have toys and like but it's not what you think. It's more because I'm like, these kids, I think toys are essential to learning. I do think toys help kids learn. They learn how to share. But at what point do you need so many toys that the parents and families are going into debt to make sure that kids have tons and tons of presents under the tree to meet society's ideas of what Christmas should be like, when Christmas isn't even really about having presents under the tree for your kids? I feel like it's more essential to give like food or something to kids, and not just Christmas time. Like, kids need that all the time. So I'm like, I'm giving money to Toys for Tots so a kid can have a train set, but at the same time, this kid is going to bed hungry. And I'm just like, I don't see how this train set is more like, why is this the charity we choose around Christmas time? And I feel like there's more things, like maybe even office supplies or a laptop or, something that helps them learn.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think because Christmas has been associated with giving gifts, I mean, let's be real, food is not really considered a gift to a child. Like to me and you, it might be like, "What are you buying me dinner? Yay!"
Right?
But to a child, they not about to get excited about a donated turkey, whereas they would get excited about a donated Lego set. I you know how I am about holidays, so like I, teeter totter with this too because I think that people should still be able to experience some joy when it comes to holidays, even if they don't have, the means to make that exist. So Toys for Tots does, allow that to happen for kids. But I agree with you. I do think that they're very kind of like oversaturated the market of charities. I can't really say that I see, all I ever really see is like Toys for Tots or like food drives. So like, bring a can of pasta sauce or something like that. I don't really see a lot of like creative, for lack of a better word, charities that are kind of meeting all needs and like all age groups. Like, what about a 16-year-old? They probably don't want no Legos. So
Yeah.
like, what do we do for the 16-year-old that lives in a home where their mama can't buy them a present? Like, I don't know. I think just like with anything, how many times do like natural disasters happen and people say the Red Cross don't really do anything? Like, I think there's so many charities out there that like we're giving them money and it's not really surfacing to what's really of value. I'm not really sure what we could do about that other than just start our own charity.
Where's my money
But
going? Yep.
yeah, I mean, people say that about Red Cross all the time. Whenever there's a hurricane and everything, it's sad, just like everything else. But yeah, I definitely agree with the Toys for Tots thing. I just wish there was a way that their needs could be met and they still could have like that spark of joy of like opening something.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I don't want to sound like a Grinch and I'm to say that kids shouldn't get toys, and I think toys are essential beyond just Christmas time. I think, but when sometimes I like we kind of get a little crazy by my niece stuff, and because it's like it's my parents' only grandchild, and my sister's husband's parents' only grandchild. It's my only niece, and so we might get a little crazy, but we've got like 20 people in our family that are like buying stuff for my niece. So when I go over there, I see all these toys everywhere, things she probably didn't even remember she has, things she's not playing with.
Yeah.
And so at one point, I'm like, how many toys do you need? Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I think kids should still, it is harder for kids. I do think kids should have a present for Christmas, at least, a couple, and open up toys. But I'm also like, I sometimes get sad too, because I feel like a lot of the charity is so much focused on kids. And I get it because it's harder for kids. Adults should be able to make their way, but it's also at the same time, like adults are hungry too. And they may not care about presents, but there's just so many families as a whole that are struggling. And most parents are going to be like, don't give me anything, give it to my kid. Like they're always going to put their kid first. I get that. Like, I mean, that's what parents do. You look like your child is like more important than your own life. I get it. But at the same time, it's like, well, why doesn't society like kind of see the family unit as a whole as important as well? Like we just focus on nitpick the elderly and the young, which they need it. They definitely need it. But
kids.
yeah, but I'm like the unit as a family as a whole, like if like you said, your mom being a single mom, I'm not sure what the circumstance was, but if she maybe had assistance or something, maybe who knows, but there's no focus really on like helping single moms. It's really like helping their kids. And, I mean, we have things like the women, what is it called? Not the women's shop, but women of wardrobe and things like that kind of help.
Dress
But
for less and stuff like that.
yeah, dress for success, and all that stuff. Yeah. So my biggest issue is just the commercialism of holidays. I love giving gifts, but I want to give a gift because I love to give a gift. Not like Valentine's Day is probably the worst one for me. Like I hate it. I hate this pressure of like I need to spend this one day to show love. So I'm gonna spend all my money to show somebody that I love them, and you probably break up like 2 days later. I'm like, give me my money back.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, really? Like, what? Like, what's the point? Like, I love you every day. And I mean, Valentine's Day is, I like holidays too. I like celebrating. I like having my decorations. But just that pressure of needing to like give somebody something is kind of annoying to me. I'm like, and I think there's so much more things that money could be used for.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's just all about putting money back in this economy. So that's why the commercials are about diamond rings and giving people cars for Mother's Day. And,
Yeah.
because that's it, Black Friday sales and Christmas in July, like there's always a reason to spend money. And it's hard when you don't really have the money to spend, but you still value the holiday. Like sometimes I'll be feeling bad, like, oh, especially, with Valentine's Day, if I don't have a man in my life giving me these things, it's like, okay, that's cool to watch on TV. Like husband giving his wife a car for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Like way to make me feel great about my life.
Right.
But yeah, it's unfortunate.
Agreed. Yeah. I'm just like, man, people would be gifting cars out here. My family
Cars!
whole car. Like, girl, like not. And I'd be like, I'm looking at my parents. I'm like, I told my family this year, yeah, probably no Christmas gifts this year like I normally would do. Because I love buying gifts. Again, I like giving people gifts that I know they actually like that they want to do. But I know where I'm at financially right now, and I just kind of need to rein it in. Minus my Container Store purchases, but I had those on my list before I started working at the Container Store. So that was that. But I'm just like, I'm not going to be wilding out buying Christmas gifts this year. So everybody, I love you. And then my parents still send me something, even though I tell them don't send me anything, they still do, but they like to just send gifts too. I just think my biggest issue with this country is that it gets touted so much as the first world country, land of opportunity, land of the free-ish, just like all these great things come to America. We have immigrants that want to come to America and then we push them away. And I'm just sitting here like, yeah, okay, yeah, we are not a third world country, which is good. But I'm looking at, there's so many people struggling in this first world country. It's only like a first world country really for certain people. It's like at this tier, 1% and up is first world. And then everybody else is like first world-ish.
Right, right.
I'm like, is that first world-ish?
I mean, I'm thinking about everybody's thinking about these stimulus checks, right? And I'm conflicted because I'm like, I'm no poli sci or economics person at all, but just from basic English, I'm assuming that stimulus means to like stimulate the economy, right? Like, so to put this money back into the economy to grow, blah, blah, blah. And I already have issues with that. Like the whole point to me is to help people who are struggling right now. But all y'all want us to do is just go spend it. Like people needed to fucking pay their rent, like not to go buy TVs. Um, and then the other thing is like, for those of us who have not lost our jobs because of the pandemic, should we really be feeling some type of way about only getting $600? Um, because there's people who have lost their jobs or small business owners, who are barely making half of what they used to make because of the pandemic, who are getting $600, So it's like, should I complain about this when technically I don't need it? But that's the thing, I do need it. I always need it. COVID or not. Like I would love $600, 1,200, 2,000, however often y'all want to give it to me. I would love to get money that I did not earn just because. Okay. But I also, again, feel bad because I'm like, I'm not someone who is directly impacted by this. And the other thing is like, whenever I get lump sums of money, so whether it's a stimulus check or a tax refund, or I might hit it at the casino or something, all I ever do is pay bills. Like, that's all I do with money. It's never a lot, enough of a lot to like feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. And that's with me having a job. So imagine if I actually was unemployed or had to, change jobs and make less, like it would feel even worse. Because all I'm about to do with this $600 is give it to Capital One. That's it. And I'm still gonna feel the same way the next day after I make that payment. So um I don't really understand it. I was watching CNN today, and this newly elected congresswoman said that if she had to vote on the stimulus check, she wouldn't have voted for it because she feels like, of course, she's a Republican, but she feels like a lot of Americans don't necessarily qualify for it because a lot of Americans still have their jobs. But it's like, again, we always need this. Like the reason why we are in this situation of living check to check and struggling is because of me. Like me and you talked offline about cost of living being different in different places. Like it's because of the setup of this world that we're struggling. Now, granted, some of us manage it better than others, of course. But at the end of the day, I don't really feel like we're set up for success unless we're really, like you said, a billionaire or a Kardashian. Like that's the only way you can really do what you want, live how you want, and not have a care in the world.
And even with that, I look at people like, Trump. He has tons of debt, but because his name is Trump and he came from a big family, he can just keep borrowing and borrowing. Well, hopefully he's going to get in trouble for this eventually. But like, it's just like we don't get that option when you're in our lowly world. When we're not billionaires, no bank is going to keep giving us loan after loan to keep investing and giving us millions and
No,
millions of dollars. And it just seems unfair. Like, how the heck does he keep getting this money? This man ain't paid back
right?
nothing.
No,
And
you
it's
walk outside and your car will not be there. They will come
right.
get your shit. Like,
Exactly. They let him keep all his building, and then he goes bankrupt, and then he wrecks a whole lot of other businesses that he never paid, and he just gets to go off into the sunset while all the families and businesses that he wrecked on his way are all struggling now and still haven't recovered. I watched a little documentary on Netflix, and it's really sad. It's like you can just get away with things when you have money, and it's really not fair. And I agree. Like I don't understand where this idea came that you have a job, you don't need money. Again, let's think about the nation and who we depended on for most of the pandemic. Essential workers at the grocery store, postmen, garbage men, sanitary workers, firemen, people who aren't billionaires. And you mean to tell me that just because they have a job, they are out there risking their life? If anybody needs this damn money,
right.
even just for anything, not even if
Right.
they need it, but just as like a thank you, is these
Yes.
people. And the hell with you, little Republican lady, whoever said this, who's going to be out there talking about people have jobs, you don't need more money. I was about to say the B word. Girl, you need to be quiet, because I'm literally looking at people who have 3 freaking jobs that were essential workers and they're still not making ends meet. They have jobs, but they're still not making ends meet. So give them the money. And I agree with you. Like, so earlier when we got the first stimulus, I didn't want it. Like, I'm not going to be honest. I was a little like, I don't need it. I had just got my bonus. I was still working. I felt really bad about getting it because I'm like, I'm not in the same situation as people who totally lost their jobs, or even who have jobs and still weren't making it. So I actually used some of that money and I gave some of it to charity and things like that. But at the end of the day, it is our money. It's my money. I'm the one sending you taxes. It's my money. Give me my money back. And this time I could definitely use it. I would love to have it, but at the same time, I still know that I'm still a little better off. But I don't think we should worry about like who deserves it and who doesn't. And that's what's really frustrating about them. And the fact that they're going to come through and try to act like Trump did something for that $2,000 when him and his party were denying it this whole time. And the only reason the only reason we even got the $600 because the Democrats just wanted us to have something. So don't come through acting like you're all like Santa Claus, like no one would have given more when we could have had more before. And we also could have been out of this pandemic before. So, girl, that's a whole nother topic. Like we could even not be here, but he was gonna take all this praise for this vaccine, but like with the country open. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, my issue is just like people assume everything is so great here in America, but it's not. And I mean, I have my own personal issues with America, from racism to capitalism. I do not think capitalism is the end-all answer to all. I know some people are like, I don't really think there is a government system or economic structure that is just one end-all, be-all, great-all. Like, I'm not a communist. I'm still kind of trying to even really understand what socialism is, because I feel like people just throw that word out to anything that's not Republican. Yeah, socialist. But do you even know what it means?
Right.
And so with capitalism, I'm just like, okay, it works for some, but not all. So there's still flaws.
Yep. It ain't working for me. Okay.
Right, girl. I don't know where I would be. Like, I mean, I've had people help me. Like when I lost my job before, I had a couple friends that did help me because I was in between positions and I wasn't sure I was going to make that $1,800 a month rent that I had at $1,825. Because I obviously put myself there when I was making money that I wasn't making money. So it's just really frustrating. But well, I definitely appreciate you coming on here and chatting with me and having this open discussion.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. I'm still cracking up at your statement about like, if I made what you made, I would not be living like
I mean,
even 100 go.
But money has just never been disposable for me. I spend money on what I want to spend it on. And like I said, I definitely think that I have some values in my life that my peers don't, but I literally count my coins. Like, I'm not like how you said, like you buy something, not return it. F no. Like, and I really feel like I would be the same way if I made double what I make now. I still feel like I would go to Dollar Tree and return something that I didn't use, because that dollar of wrapping paper that I'm not using could be some soap. So, and I just think I will always have that. I could be wrong, but I think I'll always have that outlook.
But it is good. And that would actually allow you to have a lot more disposable income. You'd be surprised because you're like, some people get more money and then they just double what they spend because they're like, oh, I'm making more money now, I can spend more. And then some people who make more money and then kind of stay at where they were at, they end up having a lot more flexibility. So well, I've taken an hour of your evening and I definitely appreciate you joining me. I miss you. We need to like do one of our workouts or something again. I know. My schedule's kind of like free. So I'm just kind of like, I'm really enjoying starting work at like 2 or 4 or 12. God, I'm so happy like not having to start at 7 because you know me, I'm like not a morning person.
Are you always going to do the afternoon?
No, it sometimes changes. Like the weekends, I tend to go in at 9:45 or 10, and that's fine. But so what I like about working the weekends is that I can actually get stuff done during the week. Like today, I started at 12, but I woke up and actually got stuff done because I woke up at 9. I still got to sleep in. I still felt refreshed, but I got things done, and I went to work, and I was all energized, looking like a princess, so I can marry the Duke of Hastings. Because that man is fine, girl.
You know, none of that is my ministry, so I'm not interested in that show at all.
I know. I just want you
You
to see
enjoy.
it.
I don't like historical things.
I know, girl. I just, if you could get past that, I just look at the man.
I can't.
She's like, nah. Well, you know,
I see him enough on your Instagram now, so I don't need
okay, yeah, I'll just keep this precariously. Yeah, well, you know, we have our different tastes in cinema.
Yes, I know. Did you watch Wonder Woman? Everybody said it was trash. Was it trash?
Girl.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, trash is harsh. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but it wasn't great. No, it definitely wasn't like the first one by any means. Nope.
Gotcha. Did you watch Soul?
I have yet to watch Soul. I still want to watch Soul. I have so many things on my list. I need to watch Soul. I need to watch Umbrella Academy. I need to watch, what is it, The Boys?
That came out like 8 months ago.
I know, girl. I'm still behind. I never watched any of it. I haven't even watched season 1. I'm still like, well, I just finished The Mandalorian season 2 like 2 weeks ago because I was waiting for all 8 episodes to come out at once. I hate that Disney Plus does that. They release 1 episode a week. Like, we're not in the world of where we can binge. Like, hello. I know they just do it for the money because they know as soon as like somebody finishes The Mandalorian, they're like, cancel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and you know it's gonna be a minute before I ever finish Jane the Virgin or Riverdale or what is it? This Is Us.
This Is Us. Yes.
And I love Milo. That show makes me cry too much, girl. I'll be in tears. 2020 was too much. I cannot handle This Is Us on top of 2020. I need it like
whatever. You didn't even watch it in 2019. So shut up. Don't even use 2020 as an excuse.
Straight fact. And I feel bad. I gave up on Milo. I need to bring him back into the TV stream. So poor Milo. All right, girlie. Well, let's get together soon. Socially distance workout or something like that.
We will. It's supposed to be nice this weekend. Maybe we can ride bikes.
Yeah, I want to ride my bike because I'm not doing anything for New Year's, so I'm just gonna be chilling tomorrow with the kiddos.
All right, cool.
All right, bye, girlie. Love ya.
Bye. Love you too.
Well, so that was fun. I really enjoyed hanging out with Tia. So, you know, we used to hang out a lot longer. She is one of my newer friends, but probably one of my closest friends now. We did meet like 1 or 2 years ago. We met her through a mutual friend named Carmen. And so we've just become really close. And it just sucks because looking for 2020, like to see my girls all the time. And obviously things have changed. But so I'm hoping that we get past this soon in 2021. But thank you for tuning in tonight. If you have any comments on finances and kind of what you guys are going through, I'd love to see it. This video will be up on my YouTube per usual, and I will share it later. Bye.